ILEAS is a public agency consortium of over 900 law enforcement agencies in Illinois, responsible for coordinating law enforcement mutual aid during disasters and crises. The following stories are about law enforcement agencies in Illinois that found themselves in need of help and reached out to ILEAS in 2013.
Tonight, officials at the Village of Lisle have declared a state of emergency after more than 7 inches of rain has fallen on this community.
This was our flood of record. Never before in Lisle history had we received this much water in this short of a time frame. We called in every available officer for the police department, and we worked straight through until the point of exhaustion. At that time, we made an ILEAS call out and had, in 2 waves, 20 officers come in and relieve our officers and allowed us to catch our breath.
Lisle and Woodridge officials went door to door, checking to see if any residents were trapped inside their homes.
Thousands of people displaced, house fires. We had cars with occupants in it floating down waterways. We're extremely proud of the fact that nobody was injured or killed, but that wasn't possible by what we did. It was a unified effort with ILEAS.
And residents from a suburban nursing home are also in a new location at this hour after they had to be taken out because of the rising waters in their building.
April 18th and 19th was probably the 2 worst days in Hillside's history. We ran across a major flood that just overwhelmed us immediately. We collectively agreed to contact ILEAS, and we were really concerned that a lot of other jurisdictions had the same issues, especially surrounding us, our surrounding communities, which they did.
The flooding also caused a Hillside nursing home to be evacuated. The 64 residents were moved to the home's south suburban location.
We had a convalescent center in our community that needed to be evacuated. We went as far out as Plainfield, Illinois, to get John boats delivered to Hillside for the assistance. Once those boats came, we were able to evacuate everybody very safely.
When you have an event that you have thousands of people impacted in your community, there is no way any police department has the resources to deal with that type of event by themselves. ILEAS offers the opportunity for us all to provide that support to each other at the time we need it most. And really, without those resources, we couldn't have protected the community and we couldn't have done our jobs.
Residents are anxiously watching the Illinois River after some barges on that swollen river crashed into a dam.
The town of Marseilles was hit very hard when the Illinois River went over the levee here last night, a little after midnight. It forced as many as 1,500 people out of their homes.
This flood never in anybody's lifetime in memory ever got to this level. So that became a little bit of a problem because even though we gave early warning and tell people this is what we expect and did, nobody thought it was going to happen. There were homes that were washed away, garages and sheds gone, cars flipped over. But I'm very proud to say in this event, we had no loss of life and no serious injury.
People here had been warned of the impending need to evacuate, but many did not heed the calls to get out until 9 barges broke free from their moorings a mile upriver and slammed into the dam.
When they collided with the dam, they did substantial damage to it, and there were several of them that sunk. So they were under the water right in front of the dam. So that's when we decided we were going to do the mandatory evacuation, and we know our resources are going to be way over our head quickly. We, quite honestly, without the ILEAS call, we could not have accomplished this, and I would be fearful we may have had loss of life. But because those folks came in, it was a tremendous asset for us.
No one is sure how much higher the water will go or how long it will take to recede, but police urge people to be patient.
This all unfolded realistically over a 24-hour period. The day before, everything is fine. When I came into work that morning, I knew we had flash flooding, and by noon that day, I knew we were in a world of hurt. To know that the help is there, it's a phone call away, they'll come in and they'll help. It isn't anybody going to come in and take charge. They're going to do whatever you ask them to do, and did a great job. It actually was textbook. It was perfect.
We're continuing to follow a developing story out of Seward, which is in western Winnebago County.
A nearby industrial plant exploded, sending hazardous chemicals into the air.
As we got closer, we could tell it was a large incident going on. When we arrived at the scene, fire department was obviously calling for mutual aid. The incident commander decided that they needed to expand the evacuation zone and secure zone from 1 mile radius to a 2 mile radius. So at that point, I decided to call a ILEAS alarm and get additional help coming.
Novacam produces hexachlorodiazolane, which is a water-reactive, colorless chemical. So crews were unable to use water to put out the fire due to fears of further explosions. Instead, they had to let the building burn.
We've used ILEAS before. From a command standpoint, I think that worked very well because you didn't have to keep wondering who's coming or make phone calls and ask. You made one phone call. All I was concerned with is who are the people that are showing up and where do we need to deploy them.
There's been nonstop people coming through this morning just trying to see when they can get back into their homes.
We all have that inner voice that's telling us this is going to be a big deal. You need to listen to that, I think. And I know it's not a sign of weakness or a sign that you're not able to handle things, but your 911 calls and your accidents and your burglaries, all those calls are still going on. Just because we have an incident going in a southwestern part of our county, you can bring in outside people and it's easy to, everybody directs traffic the same way. You can always cancel people, you can always turn them around and send them back, but if you're going to need them, you have to add that time on to whenever you make the phone call. So the sooner you make that phone call, the sooner they're going to start arriving.
Police are looking for a prison escapee tonight. The Crawford County, Illinois Sheriff's Office believes this man is armed and dangerous. Jared Carter escaped from the Robinson, Illinois Correctional Center around 10:30 this morning. His escape locked down Lincoln Trail College and Robinson schools.
When you have an inmate walk away from a prison facility, one of the things you want is tracking.
Chief Ackman talked to me about the possibility of activating ILEAS and explained to me what resources that could provide to us.
We had approximately 30 law enforcement officers from over 20 different agencies.
The more boots you have on the ground in a short period of time, the better chances we have of containing the individual and apprehending him.
What ILEAS was able to do was to provide a significant amount of manpower in a short amount of time so that it would give the state assets time to organize and then mobilize.
When you're a state agency, you rely on your state resources, but it was extremely impressive to see municipal and county agencies respond to our need.
Within the last 20 minutes, we've learned police have captured an inmate who escaped from a correctional center in Crawford County, Illinois.
Jared Carter was in jail on burglary and forgery charges when police say he walked away from a work crew Friday.
We had communications, we had K-9, and the Illinois Department of Corrections was truly grateful.
It's just good to know that there's an organization like ILEAS when you have a critical incident that you can mobilize them in a short amount of time. They're going to be there for you and they've got your back.
Folks across Illinois and much of the Midwest woke up to a disaster zone this morning. The aftermath unthinkable. According to IEMA, 120 people are hurt in Washington.
I've done like I've always done when these things happen. I go outside, I talk to my neighbors, waved at them, but I'm listening to the sirens and I hear what sounded like a train. And I opened my back curtains and I could see the debris field going north. You could see the rotation, you could see debris moving. Immediately grabbed my shoes and my coat, and my wife says, "Where are you going?" I said, "Going to the station, we got hit."
Within seconds, a quiet Sunday morning turned to mayhem as a vicious storm ripped through the Midwest. This video captured in Washington, Illinois, after the angry funnel cloud disaster.
The first thing going through my mind was, I needed to get this town shut down. I knew there were going to be gawkers. I knew there were going to be people wanting to come in and look for loved ones. I knew there were going to be possibility of looters. We have basically 6 main entrances or exits into the city. So when I contacted ILEAS, that's what I asked for, is 6 officers, 6 vehicles, because we were going to set up a perimeter around the town.
State police officials are making sure residents obey the curfew here in Washington, which means no one can enter the town between 6 p.m. and 7 a.m. every day.
We had 3 of our part-time officers, 2 that lost their places completely. The other one had just left church and came straight here and didn't realize his place was gone until a couple hours later. The extra manpower from ILEAS helping out to cover, the area, saturate, patrol the neighborhood that was affected, that gave my people a little bit of respite. The ILEAS people just were exactly what we needed when we needed it. I mean, I had comments made from that, there's a car here from Quincy. Oh yeah, Quincy's quite a Quincy's a good 2-hour drive probably from here. But again, that was part of the call-out situation. These people came because we had a need, and we will do the same thing if and when that ever happens, that they need us.
With automatic weapons drawn, police surround a townhome in Arlington Heights. One of their own was shot tonight.
As the first officer went in, he was shot one time in the neck. Responding officers that were with him were able to pull him out of the residence to safety.
We had 10 officers on duty that evening. They all responded to the scene. We knew immediately that was not enough, and that's when the ILEAS call went out to establish a outside perimeter.
Police know who the gunman is. They were trying to negotiate.
We were subsequently able to establish telephone contact.
911, what's the address emergency? I just shot a cop.
It was a terrifying scenario. Gunman Eric Anderson calling police himself.
Who is it?
Oh my God, he's shooting again.
It was really critical that we get that immediate response, and that's exactly what we got that particular night. We had vehicles responding from all the adjacent police departments, and it allowed us to deploy these resources and establish that outer perimeter.
Standoff lasted hours. Anderson rather matter-of-factly warning police of his intentions.
Anybody comes down here, that's it. Any tear gas, anything. I already shot a cop, I'm not afraid to shoot her.
Ultimately, a mobile command center that we ended up using, we were able to coordinate the activities of all three groups, NIPIS, the ILEAS responders, and our own department.
He has a restraining order against him, and he came in here, and he won't leave us alone.
He subsequently exited the home with a gun to the hostage's head. She took a step down. He raised his arm in the direction of the NIPIS officers that were present, and he was shot twice. We don't hesitate to contact ILEAS. There's a high degree of comfort. We know that our fellow officers out there are going to come, and they're going to come quickly. We know they're well trained, and we will provide the direction in terms of what we need and where we need it, and we know they'll be there for us.
For more information, go to www.ileas.org.